This is a short flight in the San Francisco Bay Area from Moftet Field Air Base to San Carlos Airport on the famous Hindenburg to show the takeoff, navigation, and landing. Also make sure the skies are clear and remove any wind layers. Otherwise, it might a bit more difficult to manage things with any real-time weather with excess winds. Make sure you select parking 26 on the departure so that you can see the ground control structure. Some say it's only available in a specific airport in Germany. I figured that's not true. It depends on the parking location and space available. The Hindenburg operates on hydrogen gas. It's about 3 to 4 times the size of a Boeing 747, so maneuvering is tricky. This is a great simulation development with all controls available to you to pilot this aircraft, and you can decide how much you want to take on. Okay, so the cone-shaped structure you see outside is the ground control tower and crew. It's not vital to fly this simulation, but it's nice to see as it is in the original airport in Germany, and also you can see the red, white, and green light and the marshal waving the corresponding flag. So depending on which airport or parking you chose, this structure may or may not be available. I chose parking 26 in the departure airfield, so there's enough space for the structure to appear. The little gondola you see in the bottom front is where we control this aircraft from. There are 3 engines, 2 on each side, and there are controls inside for each of the 4 engines. There are a dozen or more operating crew to control every aspect of the flight, and then the captain who gives orders. In this flight, we will primarily be the captain and give out orders, and then just handle our ascend and descend. You can also choose to control everything if you want in turn of the AI, but it would be very difficult to do that as one person. Okay, first things first. We would be handling only 4 main controls in this flight. The flight is set to normal mode, not easy. Then there's realistic mode, which you can try depending on how good you get at it. So the wheel you see here is the engine control. There are 4 levers, and you can set this to different speeds and also reverse. Remember, the aircraft is huge, and it takes time to respond, so you'll have to plan things ahead. Apart from the heading control, if you want to turn quickly right or left, you can shut the left or right engines off accordingly. You'll see that in the flight. Okay, next one that we will be handling is the heading/navigation. The one you see is the gyro navigation, where you can change the heading compass and the aircraft will turn accordingly. You can only use this gyro compass in cruise mode. There's an option you can see later on the captain's pad. You can also use navigation by pointing the compass graphic to which eve direction. But that's not realistic. We may use it for a little bit and then switch to the gyro compass when on cruise. Okay, next one we will be controlling is the ascend of the aircraft. This is done during takeoff, and what you see here is the ballasts that control the ascend. Basically, they are water ballasts, fuel ballasts, and emergency ballasts, which are marked black, yellow, and red. You pull on the black knobs twice each to release water to reduce weight, allowing the aircraft to ascend. Don't use red knobs, as they're only for emergency ascend, in case you're descending too fast. And similarly, the fuel ballasts in other critical situations. Next one you see here that we don't need to use is the elevation control. We can leave it to the AI. We can use the ballast to control it for now. Here you can also see the altimeter, which shows the altitude. Finally, The last one we will be controlling is the descent. This is the hydrogen gas control panel. So hydrogen is what floats the aircraft and gives it its lift. So to descend, we have to release enough hydrogen so we can slowly descend. For this, you click on the black knobs one at a time and make sure you balance the release levels to keep the aircraft steady. Same as when dumping water from the water ballast. Keep the level. Okay, now let's get to the captain's control pad. From here you can set what you want to control, what you want to leave to the AI, and all the flight procedures. I'm going to get to the CG load and change our flight fuel and capacity levels to a short flight, 12 hours. In this flight, we will leave everything to the AI except the captain. You can see that in this list where captain is black and all else is red. This one you see here shows all the gas and water levels across the aircraft and quantity, etc. When you change the configuration here, the engineers will take some time to rebalance the whole aircraft. Now let's do a cold start. Start from the beginning. Then we will get a status report from all engineers and then turn all systems on. You can hear clicking noises and a little clock-like icon on the top left, which shows tasks are being carried out. Just looking at the checklist. We will now turn all systems on soon from the captain's page after getting an initial report. You can see each crew respond with a thumbs up and also vocally that everything is okay. Then we will turn on all the systems, and if you prefer, you can ask another report later. Usually when you hear the bell, it means a task or set of tasks is completed.
Everything works normally.
Everything is in order.
All is okay.
Everything is in order.
No problem, sir.
Okay, I'm turning all
Getting
systems
started,
to on.
please.
You will again hear clicking noises and that status clock show up. Then we can ask for takeoff after. Okay, now we have to board the passengers. We have about 50 passengers. You can see now the stairs are out. For this, you have activate the stairs and the lights if it's dark. Then select Start Boarding. You can expedite this by asking to expedite.
boarding, please.
It will be a little bit slow. Just have to wait. By the way, from the status tab on this pad, you can click on the arrow points and go to any section of this aircraft. If you remove the AI, then you can even control all the engines individually. In VR, it's simply even greater. You can see here in the passenger list, each passenger is checked when they get on. This is the status tab I was talking about. You see those arrows. You can click on any of them and go to the respective area in the aircraft, including engine control, radio, dining, etc. I'll just select one of the engine rooms to demonstrate. Here, if you turn to the AI control, You can control the engine directly. It has all the controls active. In this flight, however, we won't do this. We will just give commands from the captain's chair and use the engine levers. Now to go back, you can go to the pad here and click on gondola. Okay, let's check the passenger situation and see if they're all close to finishing boarding. Usually you'll get a crew confirming vocally, but we'll check anyways. Okay, looks like they just finished. Great. Now we can close the stairs and then ask takeoff on the captain's page.
Boarding finished, sir.
Prepare for takeoff.
Roger, all crew to takeoff station.
Ready for takeoff.
Ready for takeoff.
Sorry, just forgot to close the stairs. Now, one more thing we need to do is ask the radio officer to contact the ground crew, the marshal you see with the flag next to the cone structure in the front, to inform about the takeoff. So if all is well, the marshal will show a white flag. Then we can get to the next steps of release the ropes and weights that's holding the aircraft down. You can now hear the radio Morse code beeps. They're communicating to the marshal. And you see the light has turned white. So now we're ready to get to the next steps, where we will use the megaphone next to the captain to give orders to release the ties, ropes, weights, etc. One advise if you forgot you set clear skies and less no wind. Once you release the ties and ropes, if it's windy, it's possible the aircraft will move on the ground or can be pushed to one side or other. So to prevent this, it's best to release some water ballasts quickly to get a faster lift upwards against the wind. We should be fine as we have not much wind. Now we cast of all the moorings and the marshal has signaled all green. We can do the remaining in a megaphone list of the rope and the front cone down.
Haul up the moorings.
Roger. Roger.
Roger.
Haul up the front cone cable.
Roger.
Okay, now we're ready to ascend. Time to release the water from the water ballasts. Remember, use the black ones. Pull each twice. Only on emergency the red ones. The red ones will drop a lot of water, 3 to 4 times more. If you want to ascend quickly, you can do that once, one on each side. But make sure you leave at least 2 to 3 red ones on each side for emergency descent control situations. You can see the water dropping down outside. We need to get close at least to 1,000 feet for this flight, and not more, as it is a short flight. We need to ascend more faster. Let's release more water. Make sure when you release, you do it in a balanced way. Otherwise, your aircraft will start tilting one direction or other, and you'll stand getting warning from the crews, and also the passenger happiness metric on the chart will start going down. So check the levels and make sure they're almost even. Remember, we have not started the engines yet. Now, since there isn't much wind, this is okay. But if you have windy conditions, then you will have to adjust engine speeds and directions to make sure you're not being pushed off the flight path. Okay, we'll start the engines now. If you look at the VFR map, we're pointing to the flight path. So we will keep it pointed that way and then try and turn later to align. I forgot to mention one thing. If you want to adjust all 4 engines manually, set the engine to manual mode in the captain's pad. Full mode is if you want to control using a controller/joystick, and left only / right only if you have multiple engine controls on a joystick. I set it to manual, so that way, if you want to turn fast quickly right or left, I can adjust the engine speeds accordingly individually. I'm setting it to half speed now. It's easy to overshoot our target, so everything has to be planned well. Because of the size of the aircraft and the momentum and no real braking except for reverse thrust, you have to take the response time into consideration. Orders take time to reach the engine room and then to
All
apply.
crew on cruise station.
Okay, now I'm asking for cruise mode, and that will get all crews to the cruise stations. Once cruise is on, then later we can set the heading. So what I'm doing now is just using the picture compass to keep it pointed to the northeast, so we can make a slight turn to catch the flight path. Later we'll switch to the realistic gyro heading compass. You can see here how the rudders are turned so that the aircraft can turn right. What I'm trying now is to make a quicker right turn, which means if you reduce the engine speed on the right and keep the left engines running, then you'll turn quicker instead of just relying on the compass navigation. But you have to be cautious, as it can turn rather quick. I already overshot the flight path. Now I have to catch it. I have a feeling I'll overshoot it again. You can see it's turning quickly. Okay, I'm going to set the engines back to full again. Oops, still turning. Need to adjust the compass heading. Okay, just as we thought, we overshot again. Let's try to turn this back to the flight path, or at least point it in the direction of the destination San Carlos Airport. Let's use the real gyro heading for this. So the current heading shows 333, and the aircraft is pointed way northeast of the flight path, which means we need to reduce the heading down to 250 or so to make it turn left again, and then calibrate it again to point it to the airport. We really veered off quite a bit. Well, at least one good thing is that as our altitude is not that high, we won't be bumping into any buildings or structures as we're over the bay now. Okay, we're turning left. So what it does is that if you want to keep turning faster, you have to set the heading much lower than what you need it to be, and then when you get to a certain point, you can set the heading higher. It's the issue with the size, momentum, and also the response time from the cruise. We're crossing East Palo Alto Airport. It's a small airport on the side of the bay. Okay, it looks like we're kind of aimed towards the airport. We will keep it that way and make some minor adjustments as we get close. One thing is that you also have to be careful about your speed on approach to the airport, as you can easily overshoot. So that's when you can see we do a lot with the engine control. So the freeway you see below down us is Highway 101. The San Carlos Airport is just right off of the highway heading north. You can see here the turning is slowing down as it gets closer to the heading. So we have to just push it up a bit to turn faster. We don't want to use the engine control, sometimes as it's tricky and we might overshoot again. That's the airport there where we will land. I think we'll just leave the gyro heading on and turn off the other one. I think it's automatic, but we'll just make sure anyways. Okay, we can see the airport runway from here. We need to slow the aircraft down. I'm going to slow the right engines down a bit to turn a bit faster. And then we can set to reverse thrust, so to brake further. You have to do all this in advance. Okay, looks like we're definitely going to overshoot the airport. Anyways, so this is good experience to show if this happens what to do. What we will do is to now turn right faster and make a loop and then come and land. So for that, you'll see me working on the engines. Try to keep the right side engines stopped or slower than the left ones. We use the aircraft's momentum for the turn, rather than just going off further away from the airport and then trying to reverse. Okay, I'll now continue the comments around 36-minute mark or so after we finish the turn. You can watch the engine how the left engines are running faster than the right, and the right is slow or stopped. This is where it's tricky. Make minor adjustments to be on top of the airport. One important thing, it doesn't matter how well you align at the airport for landing. As soon as you ask the crew to descend the ropes and moor the ship, they will pull the ship in the direction or location they see is fit for landing. That's why you will see the final landing and position of the ship will be different from where you intended to land. Okay, we're above 1,000 feet. While the aircraft is getting closer to the landing, let's reduce altitude by releasing hydrogen gas that gives the lift. Watch your vertical speed per minute. You don't want to ascend too fast and crash. If that happens few 100 feet before the ground, release some water ballast. Or if you're too fast, then emergency ballasts. We're now trying to turn the aircraft right a bit further and go forward. I'll continue the comments around 41-minute mark, where we will ask for landing procedures. Okay, let's initiate the
Prepare
landing
for landing.
procedures. We're trying to turn quickly a bit more right. Oh no, I let go of too much hydrogen gas. Let's see if we can dump water and emergency ballast. Yes, we almost crashed the ship. We dumped the emergency ballast, so now we're going up. Maybe too fast. Well, this is a scenario where it's a lesson when to use emergency ballast, where if you're coming down too fast and about to crash.
Roger. Copy.
Copy.
Okay, since we're going up again, I asked to descend the ropes and to moor the ship.
Grab the ropes.
So now the crew will pull the ship to the right area. Now, one important thing. Once you moor the ship, then none of the controls will work, including ascend/descend. That means the crew on the ground is pulling you down. After this, be careful not to unmoor the ship, as if you ascend or descend rate is set faster, you will just crash or go up so fast. So you can see how the ship is positioned now. That's the decision of the ground crew. Because this is a small airport, that's the best they can do, leaving the runway for other traffic. Ideally, this is not an airport meant to hold such an aircraft. But just to demonstrate, we picked this airport. And also, once you moor the ship, your descend rate will be slow as it's controlled by the ground crew by the ropes. If you want perfection, you could decide not to moor the ship until the end, few tens of feet from the ground, and test your skills. We will just have to wait until we're on the ground. Also, because it's a short flight, we didn't bring up the landing gear. We just left it out. So we're pretty much done, except once on the ground, we'll deboard the passengers. Also, my flight setting is set to realistic on the simulator, so any mistake in landing will result in crash. So far, we haven't triggered anything. Okay, let's deboard the passengers.
Proceed with unboarding, please.
Roger. Starting unboarding.
You can see the passenger number is decreasing. We can expedite the deboarding. I'm just checking around to see that we're too close to structures. Either way, I recommend you fly this in VR and tour the aircraft and all the rooms and controls. It's a great experience. And surely invest in our pre-motion motion simulation and feedback systems, some home theater setups. We have great collection of systems that we fully tune, assemble, and install in your homes in the San Francisco Bay Area. Okay, that means deboarding is done. We can now turn off all the
Unboarding
systems.
finished,
Enjoy
sir.
flying the Hindenburg. Watch our other famous flight videos.
Full stop, please.